Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle with a preview of some upcoming pandemic projects on a couple of reels that I recently acquired, and I just thought I would take them through with you, introduce you to those reels, and we'll see which ones you might want to work on first rather than last. So they're all baitcasters, but they're different types of baitcasters. So we have round baitcasters, we have the low profile baitcasters, and we have what you could call spin casters. The little all-in-one units, but we're going to take them all apart over time. We're going to keep ourselves occupied during this pandemic, and please take care of yourself. Be safe, be well, stay indoors, listen to the authorities that are telling us how to behave, and behave that way, and we all will get through this. In the meantime, I'm doing my best just to post a video a day. I can't say it's easy, but I'm trying to do it because nothing's easy in these times today. And again, if it takes a minute or two out of your day to divert your thinking from what's going on out there, then I'm happy to do it for that reason. So let's get started. Let's take a look at some of these reels. We have two different types of spin casters. The first one is a Quantum Extra Light. It's a 3-ball bearing reel, and this is the one that operates by being attached to the pole, and as you cast, pulling back on the trigger to let the line out. And then when you're done with the arc of the line, you simply release the trigger. This is still set up, and as you trip, it'll bring it back down and start it spinning. These reels are kind of interesting. What happens with these, and we did a little discussion on the Zebco reels, but there's a little stud here that picks up the line as you're reeling. You won't see it here because the line's over here, but essentially what will happen is the way that the cone is working, that stud will pick up the line, and that's how you will reel the line back in. And when you press down on the button, or in this case the spin cast lever, it's going to pull this up to release line. It's going to retract that little stud, and then that little stud doesn't reset until you turn the reel and you have that stud back out. So that's the way most of these bait casting closed-faced reels work. This one is the Quantum Extra Light, and we'll take it apart. Most folks don't service these, interestingly enough. No question why. The reels are only $15 or $20 reels, and typically a cost of service is in that area. So if something breaks, they can't figure it out themselves, they typically just either sell this one at a tag sale or something as parts, or they just trash it and move on to the next reel. So the Synergy, this one is Shakespeare. It's a little bit on the upper end, so you can buy these as bullet reels. Let me just grab one here. It's probably kind of the reel that every first kid had, right? So here's a Shakespeare. This one happens to be frozen, right? It's kind of set up for a young child, but this is kind of the reel we all learn about, right? We have the push button, we have the line release. This is kind of tangled here. We have the line release, have a little pond reel or something that it's going on, and we all kind of learn on that one, or our children go and learn on that one. And then if you like that format, there's nothing wrong with the format. As I mentioned, Shakespeare was in business for a long time, but the closed-face reel, like this one, was invented by Zebco. Well, it was manufactured by Zebco, so a lot of people adopted to that format, using maybe a little bit of a different look and feel to it, but all essentially the same. And this one as well, if I can get the top off, here you go. It's going to do the same thing a little bit differently. So you'll have a stud on here. You can see it in the close-up here, hopefully. You have that little stud, and again, the line is going to be caught by that stud, and that's what's going to be driving the reel. I got to make sure I don't push this out of the case, but as you push the button down, again, the stud will retract, and then as you wind, you'll always hear that little click. The stud comes out, starts grabbing the line and bringing it in. In this case, as many of you know, because we all kind of grew up at one point in time trying to throw this reel, it was one of our first that I can't get the line back through. It's always the little things that get you. Okay, put that back through there. Tighten down the hatch here and demonstrate how to do that. So most of the time these things are made kind of a cheap plastic in nature, and you know, again, it's a low-cost introductory reel. In this case, this is a metal casing. I believe it's a metal casing. It's certainly a metal top to it, and it says steel titanium. I'm thinking that's probably steel as well. So when you're throwing this one, instead of it being under the reel like this, it's over the reel like this, and the throw is a little bit different. You're going to be using the pole to anchor that. You're going to push the button as you throw, and again, you can release it there because it'll still be pulling the line out until the line lands and settles for good. And then when you trip it, you just heard that little button comes back into play, and that's where the line will be able to crank back in. So we'll do the two of these at some point. Again, most of the time these things do not wind up as repairs, because most of the time these reels, the cost of repair is what the cost of the reel is. Now let's go over to the low profile bait casters. It's almost the same kind of thing, but more evolution, if you will. Just want to get that rubber band off of there. So this one is a Shimano Bantam Black Magnum. It's a magnetic drive on this side. It's a bigger reel, so it could be used inshore ocean, but it's probably more suitable for lakes and rivers and bass fishing. But this one's got a little heft to it, so it could go bigger. It has the mag control for the spool. The magnet will slow a spool down if you put more magnet in it. And this is probably a 15-year-old reel at this point in time, but you know, Shimano makes a nice product, and this one will stand the test of time. It's been there, and it's one that I think a lot of people have, so we'll do it. This one was manufactured in Japan. Shimano does a lot of their reel manufacture in Malaysia. This one happened to be done in Japan, which is probably also an indicator of age. So staying with the Shimanos, then we have a left-handed bait caster. This one is a Shimano TX mag. I think it has one less ball bearing than the other one. It's a 2-ball bearing reel. Again, it has a mag adjust for the casting. This one goes left, and it almost lines up. Of course, they're both in the Bantam family. One is a Magnum, you know, they're both mag. One is TX and one is the black mag. I think this one's probably a couple of dollars cheaper. You'll also notice that the frame is narrower, but they're both kind of heavy duty, good reels, bassing reels. And then we'll take this one apart. We'll show you how that comes together too. And then I have two round bait casting reels. I have an Abu 5600 Plus, and I have a Shimano Corsair. Now, this is the type of reel I prefer to fish when I'm surf casting on the Jersey Shore, going for ocean fishing. And what I like about these is that, to me, it's the reel I learned on without the level wind feature, but they're just nice compact designs. They have good spool movement to them. They don't bog too much, and they can go a long way, and they can handle heavy line and heavier fish. So I'm not crazy about level winds, but you know, in this case, I like the format of this one. I also do fish a Calcutta, which doesn't have the level wind feature, and that's probably my go-to reel, but I like this one, and I have this one as well in my arsenal. What I like about the Corsair is when you disengage the spool to go to free spool, your level wind mechanism is not moving. Now, there can be some arguments in that one way or another, because the one argument says if it's moving like this one, when you're in free spool, this moves. You can argue that that's an additional drag on your casting, and you're not getting additional yardage on your throws because it's moving along, and that line is getting friction on your level wind and causing the momentum to slow. But I guess you could also say that too. So if you go to cast this thing, my advice is get it into the center of the reel here, and then as you go to cast, make sure that well, not go to cast, but the idea here is that you'll have drag on both sides, because as you're casting and the line is over here, obviously it's pulling against it. When it's in the front, there's no resistance or little resistance, and when it's on this side over here, again, you got to pull back the other way. Interesting thing that I learned along the way here, when you have a reel like this, when you're going to spool the reel, if you have your line, wherever that line just went, if you have your line to one side, here you go, if, let's say you had a break off on, you were in the rocks and you got hung up and you had a break off. If you go with your line over on wherever it is now, okay, so it's over on this side, and your level line mechanism is over here, you're going to be out of sorts with how the reel, if you're lining like this, you're going to be out of sorts with how the reel should line. So you should always line your level line on a break off, or when you're starting, or sometimes you've finished for the day and you've reeled your line in and you're going to go restring your pole now. If your line is over here, don't just put it through the line guide. Bring the line guide over to where your line is, and that way you'll have a nice even line on your spool as you go to reset. Otherwise, what will happen is you can be in a out of sync with the thing, and you could be in a situation where, again, you're over on this side of the spool, casting with the line over there on your ones that move, like this one, on the ones that move, and you'll get out of sorts and you'll bird nest. So more important on this one, where you're casting is the line guide is moving as you're throwing it. And again, if you have your line, I got too much line. If you have your line over here and your line guide over there and you're casting, it's always going to be out of sort. So if you line your guide like this, wherever the line is below, and you line it equal to where your line guide is, you should be good. Now on the break-off thing, again, you may have done this 100 times and now you're hearing me tell you something like that and you're saying, oh, that's great practice. You really got to take all the line off and start anew to start that practice, because what's going to happen is you're going to, let's say you just do it now, you might be good for the first 20 or 30 or 40 yards, your first drop, but after that it's all out of sync again because of the way that it was set previously. So if you want to do it correctly, take all of the line off, start anew, and then as you go to re-spool, or if you finish your day and all the lines on your spool, you go to reline your pole, make sure that you have the string and the line guide the same, so that you have it operating most efficiently when you cast. Okay, so there's 6 upcoming projects. Then we have a Corsair by Shimano 300. We have the Abu 5600 Plus. This one's a graphite case. Most of the time you see the metal cases. We have 2 Shimanos, the TX Mag, and we have the Black Mag, Bantams both. We have the Underpole spin cast, and this is the Quantum Ultra. And we have the Shimano, the Shakespeare Synergy closed-faced reel, and we'll try to get to all of those. Kind of hoping that the pandemic ends before I run out of reels, but that doesn't seem to be the case. So let's just say I hope it ends before I run out of the ability to continue to do these on a regular basis. So with that, if you have a particular one that you're interested in, why don't you send that along to me. If you have a reel that needs to be serviced and you're not interested in servicing it, well, my business card follows this, so contact me. I'd be happy to work on your reel. And if you're working on a reel and stuck on a particular aspect of the repair, well, then please contact me, and I'll try and walk you through how to get you back on track to help you finish the restoration. So with that, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Please, again, stay safe, stay healthy, listen to the folks that know, and we will get through this together. Thanks again for watching.